Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It is still good morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Across the Desk. I am here today with who was my very first guest.
Good morning.
I'd like to introduce everybody again to James Burchill. And do you want to introduce yourself, or shall I reel off your?
Oh, go for it. It always sounds more impressive when somebody else does it for you.
I don't know all of it, but
That's okay.
Oh, I can go to your About page, which will probably save me a lot of time.
Oh, God.
Well, So, this is kind of good. I will read it. I'm not going to put my spectacles on, so we're going to take a chance. So, James is currently branching into a new thing. And so you visit his website and he has the royal lion and what have you, which, that's not pretentious at all. But what he says here, James walks the walk and talks the talk, the side hustle that is. And since deciding to become self-employed in 2000, he's been making a good living doing what he loves. With a background in marketing technology and business systems, James moved toward helping SMBs become more effective and also began encouraging individuals to start their own side hustle and add an extra income stream to their lives. Everybody needs another stream.
I need multiple streams.
Today, James divides his time between authoring books, writing courses, coaching, and of course, his own unique blend of side hustles, events, freelance writing services, tech and marketing consulting, to name a few. Oh, this sounds really... Do I have to bow?
No.
Okay,
no.
Because we just both know that's never going to happen.
Genuflex, that works.
I will curtsy with sarcasm. This former university professor now enjoys encouraging others to start their side hustle and is available for talks and training seminars. Please hire me. If you need some help with your wordsmithing, James is your guy, and along with 3 best-selling business books, which are actually quite good.
Thank you.
He's a trained AWAI direct response copywriter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a boo-boo there, by the way. With testimonials about his advertising copy being the best in our 100-year history or doubled my sales.
Mm-hmm. Those are verifiable testimonials.
Yes. Finally, James is a certified neurolinguistics practitioner, an Evernote certified consultant. You don't have on here, you're also a Udemy instructor.
That's true. That's just one of many teaching platforms, though.
Yeah, see, I think that's why we get along. So if you haven't heard James and I chitter chatter before, we've known each other now since 2012. I know, which is crazy. And we met through my life as an employee. And it was partly through getting to know James and the opportunities he provides for businesses that I moved towards being an entrepreneur, because I thought, if he can do it.
Damn straight.
Damn straight. I can do it too. And I'm excited. I'm extra. I mean, that sounds so Marilyn Monroe, but I am kind of excited because something kind of awesome happened today. So tell us about your new hustle, because I had such fun.
Yes. So I was doing some research for a client at the tail end of 2017, and you identify to do work in marketing and consulting, and I keep my ear to the ground. There's more information than anyone will ever be able to consume, but fortunately, I guess I was listening to the right things and reading the right things. And I started to see this ongoing trend, which we'd seen since the beginnings of social media. And that was that video was going to become sort of much more important in online marketing, in people's content consumption. And that's really not terribly shocking given the popularity of movies and TV and things like that versus books and radio and so on. So I started digging into it, and I'd studied media and video and photography when I was in college, and I'd always wanted to do more of it when I was younger, but I couldn't afford the equipment. And this is back in the day when everything was on tape. And then I do remember trying at one point. I actually got a piece of hardware probably 30 years ago to convert tape to digital. Anyway, it was a nightmare. But I've been tracking it ever since, and with the evolution of high-speed internet connections and the HD qualities of phones and all this other stuff, the rise of vlogging, I thought, I'm going to go and have a look at this again. I want to, get back and start showing a side of my nature that not too many people have seen. And I drive around.
Smile because there's validity in that.
That's true. I come from corporate. I was like, I was a gray suit in a fairly bleak world doing tech, and my only flash of personality was usually a red tie or some brightly colored socks. And that was about all I could get away with. So the idea of starting to show my truer nature was something in the back of my head that I thought, I really want to do this, you know? And I thought, what can I do that will add value to the, you know, the things I care about? The things I care about are small businesses. I care about small businesses. I care about helping people connect, communicate. That's why I do the events. That's why I do the writing and the teaching. And I drive a smart car.
Yes, you do. Which James is sitting down right now. And for those of you listening, not watching, here's the funny part is that I'm 5'3" if I stretch. So I drive a Honda Odyssey, which is a King Kong of a van. And James is 6'3".
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So actually watching us walk along is like Mutt and Jeff anyway, but, and he squishes his form into a smart car. So essentially my car could eat your car.
Well, it's true. And the thing about the smart car is it's amazing. It's pretty much all cabin, right? And I've got tons of headroom, even when I'm sitting.
Which is frightening how well you fit in that car.
Oh, it's great. I love it.
It's like a little clown car.
Yes, it is absolutely a little clown car. And I took one for a test drive probably back in 2010. And then I kind of seriously entertained the idea around 2012, which is when I got this little guy. And
have you had it that long?
I know. I got it in the summer of 2012. So
it is sparkling. And I don't even mean this but it's well done.
I look after my stuff.
Me
I
too.
look after my tech. I mean, I consider a car a piece of technology, and I look after my tech.
It's a very smooth ride.
I was seriously upset recently when I was backing up and I didn't shoulder check, and I clipped one of the bumpers on the car. Now the good news is my car's plastic on the outside, so it just flexed and kind of got some scratches, which I was able to kind of buff out. But you know, there's no paint on it. It's black plastic over the tritium shell or whatever. Anyway, my point was, I like the car, and I thought that car represents an aspect of my nature. You know, because it's playful and it's kind of fun and it looks weird when I get out of it. It's unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And it still kind of phases me when people walking across the zebra crossing or the pedestrian crosswalk or whatever we call it in North America, stop halfway across and walk towards my car and kind of go, ooh, you know, and people are weird.
Well, it is like a little fishbowl on wheels.
It is.
In all fairness.
And I thought,
what we say in North America, how long exactly have you lived in Canada?
1998, 24 years now.
Yeah. So let's be real about the fact that you are North American as well. But anyway, moving on. Because you may have caught from James's accent that he's not originally from around here.
No, I was originally minted in the UK. I got here in '94, and it's been an interesting experience ever since. Actually, I've been here now. I recently calculated. I've spent more time now in Canada than I've spent anywhere in the world. So even though I'm British by birth, English to be specific, because you know English people get funny about that. I'm actually more Canadian, I think, probably now than I am English. So yay me. Yeah. So back to my little story about the car. I thought, this is fun. What can I do with this? How can I smush together some things I'm passionate about? How can I play around with video? How can I play around with my little car? How can I use all these aspects and kind of cram it together? Now, I've been filming stuff in my car since at least 2009. In fact, I published some footage on my YouTube channel yesterday, just to sort of quell the naysayers of going, "You're copying the carpool karaoke." And
that was me busting your junk.
Actually, you're not the only one that said it. And you know what? I don't mind the parallels. It's flattering. But no, there's footage all the way back to 2009 that I could find.
Yeah. Jerry Seinfeld's, it's interesting because when people use, and here's the thing that validates 100% what you're doing. When you put people in a different situation than sitting across the desk, the conversation that they have is far different than when you sit down in an office and whatever, because the level of expectation around behavior changes.
The psychology of this, and I've given this thought, I've done this before. I've done filming before because of the neurolinguistics aspect. The psychology is, first of all, you're not opposite each other, so there's immediately no sort of combative nature. Secondly, the moment somebody's sitting in the passenger seat of a car, albeit even a funny little car, which even changes the dynamic again, and you're kind of just toddling along, usually there's this kind of shock and awe moment. They get in the car and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so much bigger on the inside." I'm like, "Yeah, it's TARDIS," that kind of thing. And that was a Doctor Who joke for those of you that don't follow.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Not Doctor Who friendly.
Really? You're not a
My
Whovian?
brother was a massive Doctor Who, so I was forced to when I was much younger, but I think I have rebelled. And Daleks scare the shit out of me, so
It's Dalek. You have the
whatever.
emphasis on the wrong syllable.
They're creepy little.
Yeah, they were really good. Was it Stavros or Davros? No, I think it's Davros. But never mind. We're off topic here.
Shocking.
So yeah, so the moment you put them in the car and the moment they're sitting next to you, typically that's reserved for friends, right? So
That's true too.
it alters the dynamic. So the moment it's non-combative, it's not threatening, and then you go and have a coffee, and then of course I'm just I'm a big goofball when it comes to stuff like this, and that's the side of my nature that most people don't get to see, is that playful, lighthearted side of things, which, because of a few events that happened in the last few years of my life, I decided that it was about time I started to actually lead with more of it rather than the sort of the persona that had evolved out of the corporate world. I mean, it was doing its job, but really it wasn't representing me truthfully. I mean, I'm a jeans and t-shirt sort of guy. I mean, I brush up and clean up good when you put me in a suit and a tux, but my preferred way
Modus
of dressing.
dress day.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, I'm wearing it now. I'm a white t-shirt usually, although I prefer V-necks, but and jeans and a pair of sneakers or something. And it's what I started to do.
Goes through that though, and it's an interesting thing. And you and I have talked, and James has been an incredible support to my business as far as listening to me panic and perspective. And we go out and have some very interesting lunches where I think we provide mutual value.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Me too. Yeah. And full disclosure, we did have a beer and a Moscow Mule before our Smart Car Confidential. So I know. Well, I'm special. See, now you took me off track, and I'm usually really good at coming back on that.
Actually, you really are. You were. I was. For those of you that may have just seen Elizabeth's Smart Car Coffee Confidential this morning, and it's Friday the 13th. When I was editing it together, and apparently I made a boo-boo on some of it, so my bad. But when I was editing it together, one of the things I found really rather impressive was that she would start a story. She'd be talking to me about something, and then, as we do, we go down a rabbit hole, and then she'd come back and she'd pick up almost with the right exact same words and same inflection as when she left the story. So for me, I was able to sort of fold the timeline back on itself, and it looked like it was a completely contiguous shot, and it was like, yay.
Never mind that it was an hour and a half, but
well, we were talking about some other stuff too.
But that's the cool thing, though, is being able to have those conversations. And I was thinking about what you just said around the friend seat in the smart car. And there's also that, if we're going to get into the science and the what have you, there's a thing that happens when people meet each other for the first time, and this is backed up by science. So I do have, an affinity for astrology and all that crap that most people dismiss, and that's fine. You make of it what you will. But I have always believed in the energy of the planet and the energy that each of us are made up of and all that kind of stuff. And I recently attended an event at DeGroote School of Business, and it was a neuroscientist, Bryn Weingart, I believe her name was, and she's done extensive studies in what happens when you meet somebody for the first time and the energy exchange that happens at a cerebral level, but also happens at a heart level. And that can be a great thing. It can be wow, we've got a lot in common and let's kibitz and have fun. Or that can be I'm going to punch you in the throat shortly and you might want to, back up. And the advantage, again, of being side by side is that you're not necessarily having to worry about that as well, right? So there's a connection, and there's also like a safety bubble situation that happens. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I mean, I'd love to tell everybody that I gave this a great deal of thought, but I really didn't. Some
of the best ideas don't require that, right?
I just thought, you know what? I wasn't as happy about certain things in my life as I wanted from a business perspective. And I thought, you know what? The hell with this. I want to do something completely for fun, something that completely represents in my own mind, something joyous. And I don't want to sound all woo-woo, but I did. I wanted to, the old follow your bliss. I mean, I've been teaching something along those lines for ages, which was a bit more,
perhaps, make a note so I don't forget again. Sorry, go ahead.
A bit more sarcastic, which was, follow your bliss, so long as the money doesn't matter. But I was in a dark place. But
you've come through a lot of, and we have referenced that on a brief end in the Smart Car Confidential, that at the same time, you were going through some health issues, a couple
Yeah, yeah.
cropped up that, and it was actually kind of weird when we said it out loud the other day. I was like, I didn't even think about that. But
Right.
within 6 months, we both developed something that completely manageable and doesn't interfere
Oh
with
yeah.
anything, but definitely makes you conscious.
Well, it made me stop. I mean, there's a bunch of things that made me stop, and
You just
some
went
of
completely
them,
biscuity there. Hang on a
made
second.
me sort of sit back and go, okay, look, I'm on the downstroke on the 40s, so I've got maybe a little bit more time there before I put a 5 in front of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I spent a great deal of time doing what I thought I was supposed to do. I mean, a lot of what it was fun for me too, but it wasn't. I hadn't completely embraced what it was to be me. I was close, and probably pretty damn close actually. But this idea was, I'm going to see if I can invite a bunch of people. I'm going to buy them a coffee, probably an overpriced coffee because I like Starbucks. But
Which apparently now gives you cancer, but
oh well, most things do. Actually, pretty much everything does if you drink too much of it or eat too much of it. And certain people are definitely toxic as well. But yeah, but I thought I'm gonna throw all this stuff together. I'm gonna create something valuable. I'm gonna go out and interview local business people, dignitaries, VIPs. I'm gonna buy them a coffee and I'm gonna just shoot the breeze. And it wasn't that I wanted it to be like a rolling advertisement for their business, because that's boring.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get and talk to the people. Because one of the things we all know about business is business really is personal. When somebody says it's not,
you buy a person.
You buy the person. It's like you buy the person first. Then you get to know them. And if you actually like them, you might pay more attention to what it is they're doing. And if they can solve a problem that you have, then you'll probably buy from them. So it was like, let's get to know each other.
I have to convince so many clients that we need to have an about page. We need to have something that has your personality. And I'm gonna jump back for a second, because when I lost my train of thought before, it was because when you said I wanted to do something that reflected my personality 2 years ago when I started doing my podcast.
Yep.
I didn't really think consciously of why I was doing it. And you and I share a lot of similarities. We're also both Geminis and just, straight shooters and what have you. But what you just said was absolutely the reason I started doing my podcast. I was so tired of having to fit into other people's expectations and molds.
Yep.
And, wear clothing that I didn't necessarily like. And there was in the last 6 months of being an employee, a friend of mine pointed out when I finally ended the job, she said, you wore nothing but black for the last, 3 to 5 months that you were working. And I thought, I've never forgotten that. And the impact that doing something I didn't love and being somebody who I wasn't, I didn't see it coming and I didn't see it happening. And that's why I started. What's that?
Remind me about that statement in a sec, because there's,
What, the soul sucking?
No, they didn't see it coming.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. And then you went away on a fantastic trip, and we're downsizing, and I'm jealous and congratulatory at the same time that you took that leap. Pardon me, but I was fortunate that as part of James's downsizing, I ended up buying this. And I thought after a while, I need to do something with this, and I need to do something that's mine. And I need to do something that, if it succeeds, great. If it fails, great, but it's going to be on my terms. Like, I don't edit. I don't do any of that, because I think the conversation that happens between people, regardless of whether you're on Zoom or whatever, stuff that can come out of that is so amazing. And I did it. So now thank you for that, because I've been struggling with why I started doing this, and I never really gave it a huge amount of thought, but that's exactly why. Because I wanted something that I knew would be helpful, that I knew would, you've frozen, that I knew would be good for businesses, and that I knew I could do on my terms and still provide value. And you just froze like the thinker.
Yes, it's okay. I stay very still when it freezes for a moment, because then it'll catch back up.
So thank you for that. I really, really appreciate that.
No, you're most welcome. And I wish I could, say that it was deliberate, but I think some of the times we find our way despite ourselves. But back to that point about, I guess what I wanted to talk about was life tends to creep up on you in inches.
Mm-hmm.
We don't realize things are happening, because it's not like, see, we're fed a steady diet every day by the media of what I call the Hollywood model. You know, the 3-act story, which is fine. That's pretty much everybody's life. But they've condensed it down into 90 minutes to 120 minutes, where you know you meet your hero, stuff happens. There's the middle of the story, then there's this. They call it the shift from the second to the third act, and that's where the bleak or the primary conflict happens. And then there's usually this big Hollywood moment, and then either succeeds or fails, and it's all all wrapped up in a nice little bow, and everyone goes ha or ooh, and then it's all over. That thing at the end, that Hollywood moment, is what most people think life is supposed to be like, even though they don't. Maybe, I mean, you stop and think about it consciously, you're like, no, that makes no sense.
Right.
Unconsciously, we kind of do. And when you're in a relationship, or when you're in a job, or in anything, and then one day you sort of wake up for some reason, and you stand there and you're looking around, you go, how the heck did I get here?
And I'm taking notes. Sorry, I'm not ignoring you. I'm taking notes while you're talking. Yeah.
And you can't find any single large Hollywood moment that put you there, and there wasn't any. And then you start to beat yourself up because you realize what brought you there was inches. Every single mini decision, every single day. And if you were to stop and sort of challenge those decisions, you would run into statements like, you're being unreasonable, or just let it go, and things like that. People are always saying, but over time,
crazy.
Yeah, over time, you find that these little moves, they move you away from where you want to be. And anyway, that's how I ended up getting to where I was. And it was like,
completely agree.
Going to do something that's fun. And somebody said to me initially, so how are you going to make money at this? What's your business model? And I promptly, being me, blew the raspberry,
You did that before, and I thought you farted.
I guess it's like, you know what? I'm not even going to grace that with an answer. I kind of did have an idea where I had more of a hope, actually, than anything.
And that's what I do with my podcast. But I think some of that, and I'm sorry to take that over, because there's two things I want to tie into that, because it's something that we talked about before we started that pulls this all together. But that's exactly why I started the podcast. Absolutely. I had marketing material about being a guest, and that is still an option. If I approach you, it's because I think what you're doing is incredibly interesting and beneficial, and I love what your business is doing, and I just want you to be a guest. If you approach me, well, that's a different story, and there's usually a fee attached to that, and there's value and what have you. So I totally hear you, but I did not. And some of the best things, I think, start out with just that altruistic, you know what?
Yeah, mine was. I just wanted to do something useful. I mean, it wasn't, it's not like I've got infinite amounts of time and resources. No one has. Yeah. But because of the way I've structured my side hustles and the way I work, I have more free time than most. Good one, eh? And the truth is, that's why I was able to build all the events and the networking groups over the last 6 or 7 years. And people would say, are you retired? I'm like, no, I wish, but no. But then again, actually, I don't wish, because I love what I do. And the more I throw away the things I don't like, even things I like a little bit or like a lot, and I'm like, no, do they really give you joy? Like, do they really make you go, woohoo, and jump out of bed?
Isn't there some Japanese lady who has a book?
Yeah, there is. Okay. Yes. I can't remember her name right now, but she's a productivity and a sort of a streamlining expert.
Well, you talked about the very beginning, which I think ties this all together, is the niche versus nature almost. In that, when you are constantly fighting against your nature, when you are constantly fighting against who you actually are, when you're constantly fighting against your personality, and
exhausting.
It's exhausting. And now I'm going to use a little bit of foul language. I mean, if you're an asshole, yes, you should fight against that 100%, because nobody likes an asshole, even though everybody has one. But if you are just a straight shooter, if you have a quirky personality, if you enjoy whatever, and your personality isn't hurting anybody, embrace that. Because both James and I have had to fit into those boxes that just pinch. And the point that you made at the very beginning was, I've found that my nature is of value to people, which it absolutely is. And I found that now I'm going to embrace that and use those strengths that I have to do the best job I can.
Do you know how much that annoys me? I mean, not in a bad way, but it annoys me, because it's like, all right, so
why didn't I think about that 10 years ago?
No, it's even worse than that. I went through, my parents put me through private education. I went through a ton of stuff in the UK. I went through corporate training, sort of turned me into this thing that's supposed to fit into the corporate world. And I've got like over 50 or 60,000 hours in marketing communications training. And it's just stupid. Like, no life, tons of training. Anyway, you come out the other side and you're like, okay, I've got this. And what I'm realizing now is, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on myself, is that the thing that is valuable isn't anything that I learned. It's just who I am.
Yep.
It's like, oh, come on. It's like,
Damn
really?
it.
Yeah, it's like really your gifts and talents, the stuff that makes you you, the fact that I can walk into a crowded room and I'm not going to freak out and like go hide in the corner, the fact that I can make lighthearted idle banter or small talk with people, the fact that I am genuinely curious, the fact that I can laugh easily at most things, including
You're
myself.
just awesome.
No, I'm definitely not awesome. I mean, there are people out there that think I am, but there's an equal number who think I'm on the other spectrum, with the woo. Well, I go from, what is it, assholes to angels, and everyone's somewhere in the middle,
Yeah, no, I tend to inspire that in people.
Well, yes, we polarize, but that's good. You don't want to be like vanilla ice cream. You want to be the chunky
Crazy
monkey,
shakes!
rocky road, or crazy, whatever it is. Yeah.
So
Anyway,
I'm gonna tie something in there this morning because it happened this morning, and I think you and I have both had a midlife crisis that has been
I've had
the
three.
best. Okay, well, I'm just going to talk about my one, but it's the best possible scenario. This is what that brought up for me, was the fact that your switch flipped, and I think most people have, and I know this is a little bit off the rails, but I promise it comes back. When people have a midlife crisis, they have spent so many years fighting against who they are and meeting other people's expectations and all of those things that I think they finally just snap like a cookie and kind of go, you know what? It's all about me right now.
Forget it.
And forget it. I'm done fighting and whatever. Instead, I think what you and I have gone through is our renaissance, if you will, to say, you know what? I'm not going, it's not all about me, but I'm going to go through this little bit of an existential crisis, and I'm going to come out the other side and embrace who I am and do these opportunities. And they might not be everybody's jam. I mean, the number of people, when I say I do a podcast, they're like, ooh la la. And I'm thinking, okay, it's not that big a deal. Like, it is.
It's a couple of
I'm
people
not diminishing
talking to each other. No, there's a lot of skill that goes into all these things, but there's still people talking to people.
Fair. And I think that was the beginning. This microphone was probably the beginning of my midlife crisis, in that I kind of went, you know what? I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of knowing what I want to do, but thinking everybody else is going to judge me and whatever else. And I'm not going to do that anymore. And it's just been amazing. It's been so much better.
It's terrifying putting yourself like, just turning around and showing, more and more of your nature to people, because you think, well, I mean, we're trained to fit in. And ultimately what I'm doing now is going, I can't be bothered. I'm just going to be me.
No, I'm going to, we're going to a little bit of therapy. It's not that you can't be bothered. It's that I think you're finally stepping into the value of who you are. And I mean, since I've known you, and I'm doing the pointy hand thing. Since I have known you, you have always been concerned with providing the best value. You have always been concerned with teachable moments and accepting information and disseminating it and sharing it and whatever. That's always, from my perspective on you anyway, it's always your motivator. And so I think the only thing that's happened to you over the last 6 years, I would say, is you've just relaxed a little bit, and it hasn't been the shiny version of James all the time. And I love that. And that's why at the end of Coffee Car Confidential, I did that wrong there, Smart Car Confidential. I took out your cards and turned the tables a little bit, because there's so much to you that people don't get to see. And they're starting to, which is awesome.
Yes, and if I have my way, which I intend to now, yay me, I'm going to show them more of it. And I know it's going to polarize people, but I think I bring more value to the equation than not. I don't want to destroy. I just want to create. I want to connect. Yeah. And I really, really, I mean, somebody asked me recently, what is it?
Excuse me.
What is it you like to do? What is it like? What's the feeling? When I was taught to write, I was always told, what's the feeling you want the reader to experience? And creating video to me is really not that much different than writing. I mean, it's still words you have to think about. It's just, you're mixing pictures in, which is okay, fine. But they said, what is it you're looking to get out of it? And I went, I want to be the fluffy kitten story at the end of the news. I want to be piglets
and puppies playing together.
I want to be the thing that makes people can watch it and it lightens their day. I mean, we got so much heavy stuff around. It's like, I'm not saying I'm going to solve anything, significant, but I don't want to be more of a weight. I want to leave the world a little bit better than I found it. And
Absolutely.
if that makes somebody smile, I'm not saying I'll solve your problems, but if I can make you forget them for 10, 15 minutes, or even feel better about something for 10 or 15 minutes, or distract you, I don't know. That's why I started doing it. And I thought I can mix all these things together, and ultimately,
you also help people get over a fear, because the interesting thing that you and I shared was that when I have people, right, so I'm starting a new series for my podcast. Spark the Change Toronto's coming out, which James was very kind and let me talk about on the Smart Car Confidential. What I do then is I interview the speakers that are coming on, anybody who's, right?
mm-hmm.
And invariably, there's always this 10 or 15 minute lead up about how nervous they are about promoting themselves and promoting their business and having that conversation. And what you and I talked about in the car the other day was, okay, well, have you been nervous talking to me for the last 10, 15 minutes? Well, no. Have I been scary? Have I been whatever? Well, no. It's going to be the same thing. And that's what the smart car provides. Because when people know you and get to talk to you and whatever, you have a terrific ability to draw people out and get them to share things. There's a little bit of disarming that goes on. That's a terrific tool.
Well, the camera's tiny too. I use a little GoPro. Nobody can really see it. It's stuck to the mirror.
There. Okay, so give credit to the camera if you need to, but it's that approachable personality and that embracing yourself and that tiny bit of vulnerability that allows people to open up, share about their business, share about what they're doing, and as you mentioned, showcase their personality.
It's far more interesting.
It's so much freaking fun.
I know, it's lovely. I mean, I can't say how. I mean, it's weird, and I don't want to sound like these sort of sort of I don't know, hallmark moments, but I'm actually having so much fun doing these. Like I was working on your video earlier this week,
yeah,
and I was enjoying rewatching it so much and flipping around and editing it, and editing videos takes time. It usually takes 2.
You're going to have to stop moving or something for a second.
My whole evening just drifted by, and it was bedtime, and I had spent the whole evening working on this video. I mean, I'd done a full day's work. I came home, and around 6 o'clock, I started working into this video. Yeah, and then I started editing into this video, and the whole evening drifted by, and I went to bed with this stupid grin on my face because I'd had so much fun.
Welcome.
And then when I woke up the next morning, I got up, I was up, and by 6 o'clock, I was in front of my computer, futzing around with these videos. I enjoy it. I actually feel very fortunate that I get to do this. And it's the fact that people want to come and sit and talk to me. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding?
Isn't it fun?
Well, the best part is, when we touched on this earlier, is people are starting to talk to me about, sponsoring, because somebody said,
I was just going to bring that up.
What's the financial model? And in the beginning, it was like, I'm just doing it for fun because I can. And I'd always thought eventually what I would do is I'd look for sponsorships. And today's episode brought to you by the letter W and the number 5, or whatever, a company would have paid for that. That was a Sesame Street plug.
It was totally.
Yeah. But
and the color purple.
The color purple. Yes. Near, far.
You do know that my ringtone is the Manamana song, right?
Well, and we like Minions, but that's just part of our nature shining through. But the thing is, people are coming forward going, can we, like you said, can we pay you to do this? I'm like, huh? And then, of course, when you start to look at your numbers and you start to realize that people are finding these things fun and they're sharing them, and these videos are starting to get thousands of views and rack up hundreds and hundreds of hours of views.
That was subtle, James.
Yes.
Well, he's absolutely. So I'm going to.
I'm a marketer, remember?
I know. And I was going to bring it up because here's the other thing that you and I were chatting about the other day is that so I'm going to wrap up in a couple of minutes because what people I think forget is that when you take the time to do something like this, so be it a podcast, be it a video like this, be it Smart Car Confidential, it's in perpetuity. It's not people look at it as a one-time expense and they think that's, it's just going to go out that once and whatever. What they need to remember is that we never take this stuff down.
Yep.
I pay for a pro account on my SoundCloud so that the podcasts that people do with me are there forever, and you can embed it, share it, you can do whatever you want with it. James never takes down the videos that he puts on YouTube.
I put them everywhere, actually.
And you do. And I've got notifications from, I have your Twitter account up, and I have your Facebook page up, and I have everything else. So you can find him at just type in James Burchill, and he pops up, and it's Burchill. And it pops up everywhere. So when this moves towards the financial model, and if this is something that you're considering, here's the thing, if you have a fear of speaking in public, if you have if something's holding you back from promoting your business on a unique platform, then this is the perfect opportunity for you to have a conversation, allow somebody who's a skilled interviewer to draw it out of you, and just have fun. And people will, he does it in such a way that it's positively painless, and
you get a coffee out of it.
You get more than that, but yeah, you get a coffee, you get a chance to sing if you so desire.
Yes, this is true.
Because you can be our guest. Or I'll wrap up slightly with this, in that people fear failure, and communication is a prime opportunity for failure, because you can mess up your message, you can do whatever. And my son is currently attending Sheridan College, and he's having a tough time in a couple of his courses. And so we were talking today, like he texted me yesterday, and he said, "Oh, Mom, I failed another assignment." Okay, well, I've done a lot of research on failure, and I'm no longer afraid of failure. And so I took some of the wisdom that I've gleaned from a variety of experts, and he and I had a little conversation this morning, and I said, "Look, buddy," I said, "here's the thing." I said, "Your dad and I are never going to be mad at you if you fail." And he looked at me, and he's like, "Well, why?" I'm like, "Because that means you're trying. And the average human being does not fail because they don't try." So to me, if you are attending your classes and doing your assignments and whatever, and you fail something, okay, I'm not going to be mad about that. What I am going to be mad about is that if you don't use 2 other F words in this situation. And he kind of looks at me because I have a bit of a potty mouth. My kids are almost 19, and one's 20, one's almost 19, so I can get away with that. But I said, out of that failure, if you don't try and fix it, that's a problem for me. So if you are trying and failing, but aren't looking for a way to fix that situation, I'm going to get angry. I said, and the other thing is, I said, you need to change the way you feel about failure. And he looked at me, and I said, tell me how failure feels to you. And he's like, it's scary, and it's hard, and it's a whatever. I said, good. Because that means you're trying. That means you have stretched yourself, and that means you're trying new things. And I said, and successful people stretch to fail. People who are content in their little bubbles and whatever, they don't ever feel how you're feeling because they never try. So the point of this is, not just my son, the point is, if you have been hesitating on trying something different like this, if you have been hesitating in promoting your business, if you've been hesitating about having a conversation about your business, then here's a perfect way to do it. You get to ride in a really cool car. You get to talk to James, who's very skilled and trained at what he does. He's also embraced his goofiness, so you'll have a lot of fun. And it's a perpetual marketing opportunity for you. It never goes away. And he's not going to ever make you look bad. That's the other thing. People always fear, looking goofy or looking
God,
whatever.
no.
Yeah. And you're going to be respectful of how that personality, mine, I look a little crazy, but that's who I am. So that's okay. Oh, you're in thinker pose again. So that's what I'd like to wrap up for people, is that if you've had some hesitation or some fear, this is just the perfect opportunity to have fun, another F word, and fix your marketing problem, which I can assure you likely have.
Oh yeah, because you get free counseling when we're in the car, because you can ask me. I cut me out of most of the footage. Obviously I can't cut me out because I'm next to you in the car, but the other side of the conversation where usually I'm being asked about what I do and all this kind of stuff, or I'll start chatting and providing some pearls of wisdom or insight. I cut all that stuff out because it's not the me show. It's about you. And you're going to get, potentially 20 minutes, half an hour of being able to, you can ask me some pressing questions about your business. I might not know all the answers, but I'll have a damn good try. And as I like to say, I'm putting the FU back in fun.
Sure.
You're going to have to cut that out now.
I'm not. I don't cut out. I honestly, I rarely, there's only been I think twice in the 150 episodes I've done for my
Nice
podcast.
plug.
Thank you.
The 150 episodes.
Marketing person. Actually, I'm not I'm a communications person, but anyway, and there is a difference.
Same but different.
What's that?
Same but different. Potato.
Okay, whatever.
We're both in the business of helping people connect and communicate.
That's
approach
that
it
I like.
differently.
I've only ever had to edit 2, and that it had to be done. It was an international podcast, and it just something happened that had to.
Enough said.
So normally we click record and go. So anyway, that part might come out, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, if you are interested in embracing this opportunity, and I assure you, it is just a shit ton of fun. I put the shit in fun. Visit James's website, and it's jamesburchill.com.
Actually, for the Smart Car Coffee Confidential, it's smartcarcoffeeconfidential.com. But you can get to it just by...
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know. Just go to jamesburchill.com or just type my name in. Just type my name in on YouTube. You'll find it. Hey, they're ranking really well right now and starting to show up for some fairly interesting search phrases. They've only been there maybe 3 months I've been doing this. You know, I started them beginning of January.
Shameless
I know. I can't help it. It's genetic.
Shameless plug. Okay. Well, smartcarconfidential.com actually did not come up.
Coffee Confidential. You're missing the beverage in the middle. It's SCC.
That's way too long, man.
I know. Well, I wanted the name at the time. I told you, I didn't give this a lot of thought at the beginning.
Don't say that. Okay, that doesn't come up. What am I doing? Oh,
you just obviously can't write.
I really cannot. Don't hire me to do anything.
I was going to say, no, we both suck. You already found a typo in mine, and I'm a trained copywriter. It's like, woo. But then again, I usually like to turn around to people and I say, how many millions of words have you written lately? So... You're going to get...
if my husband, so we'll end on this little tit for tat situation. If my husband ever gives me grief about, spelling or whatever, my go-to for him is, okay, smartass, spit out hysterosalpingo-oophorectomy. Go.
I can spell onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia?
Oh, what's the other one? Anti-disestablishmentarianism, the longest word.
I could if I did that. But anyway, so that's my go-to for people if they...
Well, that's good.
Hysterosalpingo-oophorectomy. If you can spell that, you can criticize me. Done.
It sounds like a person from a faraway land.
That's 13 years in healthcare, man. That's what you get. So anyway, thank you so much, James, for coming. And
you're
once again, welcome. And so you're my 151.
151? It's a palindrome.
I don't know what that is, but yay!
It's when the number reads the same way backwards and forwards.
I'm not that smart.
Oh, okay.
So thank you very much. I'm going to also have links and stuff for James as well when you see this, but please check it out. And honestly, it's so much freaking fun. If you think this was an interesting kibitz,
you should try it on caffeine. Yes. What did I say in the car? How do you tell if you've had too much in the morning? You can't find your name?
I see. You're gonna have to edit because
okay. Look, no, that's fine. Go back and tell people about I goofed. I cut out her answer, her 10-minute rule or whatever it was with the coffee.
No, my 10 o'clock rule.
10 o'clock rule. Explain it here. We can link the two together.
Oh, heavens to Murgatroyd. So my thing with coffee, as I mentioned, if you watch the Smart Car Confidential, we're going on way long here.
Yeah, we'll trim it.
So I have to be careful. I have a thing. It's called SPVT, which is supraventricular tachycardia. And what it means is, on uncertain conditions, my heart can start to race for odd reasons. Actually, it hasn't happened for a very long time. So yay, thumbs up. So I have to be careful of my caffeine consumption. I also have a death fear of becoming addicted to anything other than books. So I will not have coffee before 10 a.m. unless absolutely necessary. Because I do not want to be in a situation where I am reliant on anything other than water to get my day going.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There's the answer.
Yeah, see, coffee, cigarettes, booze, food of champions. Anyway, it's always before 10 a.m. somewhere.
It is, but that's my little...
I'm just kidding, folks. Yeah,
no, he's not.
A little bit. Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth. I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you. I could probably, well, as people can probably tell, we can talk.
We talk a lot.
We could talk the hind end off a donkey, but
that's what happens when you read a lot and you learn a lot. So that's my part. There's our parting joint thing.
Yes.
Continue to read and learn and introspect and learn and share and do all of that stuff. And then you never run out of things to talk about. One of my chief faults in life is that I cannot make small talk with somebody who has nothing to say.
And I thought it was humility.
You know. That's never been an issue for me. Thanks for that parting shot.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So you can visit me on mcvcommunications.ca, which is all in my little ending thing there. And I don't think we're going to end with a song, so I think we're just going to say goodbye.
Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen.
Oh, see, now that's going to take me off on a Sound of Music tangent. Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.